I'm sure if many of you came here on the tube today, or battled with the tube sometime this week, you may have seen an advert for a crowdfunding campaign. And crowdfunding campaigns have been on the tube over the last 18 months, 2 years, so you can't really fail to miss them. Some of you may even have decided to invest in one of the companies that are crowdfunding for your support in growing their business. Crowdfunding has really come from nowhere. A couple of years ago, nobody had ever really heard of the word crowdfunding, and now it seems that every business is looking at how they might be able to use crowdfunding to raise money to grow their business. But the thing about crowdfunding is it's not just about raising finance, it's also an amazing way to grow your business through the marketing halo that you get from running a crowdfunding campaign. And there are two main benefits I'm going to talk you through today. The first is how you can generate awareness for your business through crowdfunding. And the second is how you can build an army of brand ambassadors through crowdfunding that can really help you take your brand forward by feeling that they're part of your company and helping you shout from the rooftops about your brand or your product. So I thought I'd just look up the definition of crowdfunding, just to make so that everybody is really clear about what crowdfunding is. And I looked it up on the internet, given that this is a digital conference. So crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is the practice of funding a project or a venture by raising many small amounts of money from a large number of people, typically via the internet. And I think this is really where crowdfunding has come from, because before the internet, it wasn't possible for companies to publish their information about their business to a really, really large audience. For people like you and me, along with professional investors, to be able to participate in investing in a business. So what I thought I'd do to start with is have a look at some of those crowdfunding campaigns that have been running that you may have seen the adverts for, so hopefully it will start to become clear in your minds. I'd be surprised if you missed this one, because the Camden Town Brewery has been a real poster child for crowdfunding. Here's their crowdfunding advert here about investing in their brand, I think one of their brands called Hell's Beer. I don't know if everybody here drinks that. Yeah, is it good beer?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Craft beers have just gone crazy as well, and craft beers have really been using crowdfunding to help them launch their brands in a big way. So, Camden Brewery, last year, let me get the facts right, I don't want to tell you the wrong stats, raised £2.75 million in May 2015 through crowdfunding, and their posters were everywhere. They sold their business to Budweiser in November for £85 million. So, a real poster child for crowdfunding, and one of the first successful exits that we've seen. So people invested in that business, they then sold it to Budweiser for £85 million, and all those people that invested in Camden Town Brewery made a return on their money. And there were 2,173 people that got involved in that campaign. So they all did very nicely. Here's another one that I quite like. This is Oppo ice cream. Anybody heard of Oppo ice cream? Sugar-free ice cream. Fantastic. So we need healthy ice cream. Now you can sit in front of friends to your heart's delight, scoffing big bowls of ice cream without feeling guilty. This was a smaller fundraise. Charlie and Henry, who you see here on the tube, pointing at they're the founders of the business, pointing at their poster, were looking to raise £150,000 to take their business forward. So a smaller company, it's like more start-up stage. And they smashed their crowdfunding target within 6 hours, becoming the fastest ever startup to do that at the time. So again, they got some great publicity off the back of that, and have drawn the attention of Richard Branson as a consequence, and are really taking their business to the next level and beyond. There's another one that I personally relate to. I like to choose examples of things that I like. This is, you can't really see very easily because it's a huge poster, but this is for Blow, which is the blow dry business where you can ladies and gents, if you wish, pop in your lunch hour to get your hair blow-dried, or you can call up and get a stylist to pop to your office. And they have successfully raised, I think, over £500,000 just a few months ago to take their business to the next level and open up some more stores. Final one you might have seen. This is a bit more of a dry advert. This is sort of a bit more of an investor-style advert. This is one called Chilango. If you're familiar with Chilango, the Mexican chain, where you can get fantastic burritos. Business started by Eric Partaker and Dan Houghton. They raised £3.4 million through equity crowdfunding to help them grow their restaurant chain to 10 stores across London. They had over 11,000 people participate in that crowdfunding round. So there's 11,000 people who are not only eating their burritos, but are suddenly part of that brand, part of that company, and are going out there and helping them to grow the business for them, without it costing any money, which is quite clever. And the guys went on actually last year to raise a further £2.1 million through something called a burrito bond, where they did some debt crowdfunding, which meant that basically investors, rather than taking a share of their business, lent the company money and in return get interest on that loan that they've given, and their loan gets repaid in due course. So they've done two different types of crowdfunding, but both have brought on not only a load of brand ambassadors for them, but an incredible amount of awareness. So crowdfunding is not going away. I just wanted to show you this graph to show you the growth in crowdfunding. Back in 2013, £28 million was invested through crowdfunding. But by 2015, that had gone up to 331 million. So a growth of over 300%. And it's only going to continue going upwards. You're going to see more and more of this. So I think it's worth really thinking about how you might be able to use some kind of crowdfunding to help you take your business forward. Just one more chart for you to demonstrate how important it is. You probably can't read all the words on this chart, but these are all the people that have invested in businesses in this country in the first quarter of the year. The two biggest investors in businesses are Crowdcube and Cedars, and those are the leading crowdfunding platforms. This is a report from a company called Bohurst. I think that's absolutely fascinating. So those two platforms are putting more money into growing businesses in this country than government, VCs, angel investors, Dragon's Den, you name it. So why is crowdfunding becoming so popular? I just want to really sort of hammer the point home with you here. First of all, it is democratising access to finance for both entrepreneurs and investors. So it's so much easier now for everyday people who want to participate in a brand to sit at home on their sofa and browse through all the interesting companies that are out there trying to grow their businesses, read all the information about them, watch their videos, and think, you know what, I think that company is going to be something really interesting in the future and I want to be part of that. It's very, very easy to do. With a click of a button, normal consumers can invest as little as £10 and be part of your brand. That's really amazing. As for businesses, which you may run or be part of, it's easier than ever to put your business up for investment to a crowd. You create the pitch online, you create a video, and you put it up there. You no longer have to go and pitch to investors in a scary room full of scary men in suits. So it's really, really exciting that it's democratising that access to finance for people. But then again, this marketing halo, it really does help drive marketing awareness because you're able to reach not only your customers with your message about your brand, but also a whole new audience. And I'll come and talk about that in just a second. And then this whole piece about building a brand ambassador network to help take your brand forward. Again, just a kind of little educational piece here. There are three main types of crowdfunding, so it's really important to understand the difference between them to think about what might work best for you. Rewards-based crowdfunding. Now this is platforms like, you may have heard of, like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Traditionally, those platforms were used by in the creative industries, or to launch a new product. With rewards-based crowdfunding, you don't give away any share in your business. What you're doing is pre-funding a product launch or a creative project. So if, let's say for example, you're a kids clothing manufacturer and you want to launch a new range of kids pyjamas, but you don't have the funding to go and do the market development and produce the stock, you could go to a rewards-based crowdfunding platform like Kickstarter and put all the information up about your lovely new pyjama range that you want to launch and ask people if they would be interested in backing that project. Normally, what you do is you're doing something where you've got a limited edition product that nobody else can get, which gives people the urgency to buy, or you may be able to give them those pyjamas at, for example, 25% discount to the price they would pay when they come to market. So you need to give backers a reason for backing your project now, rather than waiting for the product to come to market. But what's quite interesting is that this rewards-based platform is moving out of the realm of small projects, back bedroom businesses, launching things. But actually it's moving into the enterprise world. Indiegogo in particular launched a new product called Enterprise Crowdfunding, and they are targeting the big FMCG companies and saying to them, this is a really great way for you to launch a product because it allows you to, those companies don't need the funding, what it allows them to do is validate the market and pre-sell that product to get it moving. So this is something that people are looking at, whether they are small businesses, medium-sized or large. Equity-based crowdfunding, which is a lot of the examples I'll talk to you about today, because that's my area of specialty, is where you give away a share of your business in return for the funding you receive. So for example, a lot of companies give away 10 to 20% of their company in return for, it may be £200,000 investment or £1 million investment, depending on the size of their company. And that means that those shareholders, they own a part of your business. They don't have a real say in how your business is run, but they do own a share in your business. But the great thing is that they will then benefit from that when the company eventually sells, because they will make a return on their investment. And the final one is this debt-based crowdfunding. And I talked about the Chilango example with the burrito bond. There's been a few others. I think it was another really good one. Hotel Chocolat did a chocolate bond, and King Shaves did a shaving bond. So again, you feel like you're part of the company, you've got some kind of ownership of the company, and that you get a benefit for it. So for example, if you'd invested in a Chilango bond, you might say, right, I'm going to put £1,000 and I'm going to lend you £1,000 every month. You would get from Chilango an interest payment, but also they tie in lots of other benefits. So it might be that you get 20% off all your burritos for the lifetime of the bond. And at the end of the period of time, which may be say 3, 4, 5 years, you get your original money back. So really, really interesting. But you feel, that consumer feels like they're part of your business. So how do you go about running a crowdfunding campaign? What are the important things you need to think about? Well, the heart of a crowdfunding campaign is the video. It's usually a 3 to 4 minute piece that goes up on a crowdfunding platform for people to watch to see if they're interested in finding out more. Crowdfunding videos can cost anything from a few £100 to £20,000, depending on the size of your business, your brand, and your marketing aspirations. And a lot of people are a bit scared about this video piece, especially if they've not been used to producing video, and it feels like quite a big investment. But actually, you can slice and dice your video content to create a number of different videos that can be used for all sorts of things if you're clever. So there are ways that you can get a good return on investment. So partly to give myself a break from talking, but also to give you, to really show you what a crowdfunding video looks like and how it's pitched to people. I thought I'd just show you this one from a brand called I Love Gorgeous, which is a designer children's wear brand that have just completed a £700,000 raise on crowdfunding.
Hi, I'm Sophie Worthington. I'm co-founder and managing director of I Love Gorgeous.
And I'm Lucy Enfield, co-founder and creative director of I Love Gorgeous.
I Love Gorgeous is a successful, well-established and multi-award-winning children's wear brand that makes high-end clothes for girls from 0 to 15.
We started in 2006 at our kitchen tables, and over the last 10 years we've grown I Love Gorgeous into a multi-million-pound turnover business, which was profitable in year one, and become one of the leading brands in our market sector.
I think we bring a unique design aesthetic to the children's wear market. When we first started out, our passion was to use the sort of fabrics and trims that we love in the adult clothing market and try and bring it into the children's wear market. You know, why should children's clothing be dull?
We now have a team of 24 with a head office in North Yorkshire, where our in-house website, customer service and finance teams are located.
Our design studio is in West London, where we have design, production, wholesale, marketing and PR.
The people are really what make the business, and we feel really confident that we have a solid support structure and network of people here that can really help propel I Love Gorgeous forward.
Then we have our 2 beautiful London stores. Our first opened in the prestigious location of Notting Hill, and the second can be found on the exclusive Primrose Hill High Street. We currently wholesale our girls' range to over 20 countries and supply some fabulous luxury retailers, including Selfridges, Liberty, Harrods, and Barney's in New York and LA. Over half our total annual sales are generated online through our website, where we are very proud to say we ship to over 70 countries around the world, with a healthy gross margin.
We're lucky enough to have some amazing press coverage. At the moment, we make beautiful clothes for gorgeous girls, and now we're ready to make them for boys too. We're raising our next round of funding to launch our much-anticipated boys' wear range and evolve from I Love Gorgeous to Wild and Gorgeous.
Small people are big business. The children's wear industry is set to be worth £5.9 billion in the UK alone by 2017. With our 10 years of trading history, excellent infrastructure in place, healthy gross margins, repeat customer rates, and growing online business, we are perfectly positioned for our next phase of growth. And we want you to join us on the journey.
I Love Gorgeous has established itself as a fantastic brand in the girls' wear space. It's a natural extension to do boys' wear now. They create something that just children want in a way that I think is very unique. I'll be investing myself. I think they're a great team, and I think boys' wear will be just as good.
The main thing we look for when investing in a business is the team and their ability to execute on their plan, and they've done exactly that over the last 8 years.
I'm really excited for the evolution into boys. I mean, I know the design team behind the brand have got a really clear understanding of what it is that boys want. They know there's a massive gap in the market. I've got sons and I know this. And I think that they will use their smart eye and their understanding of practical clothes coupled with modernity to deliver something really exciting.
I think there is a gap. There's a gap in the menswear market that's being very quickly filled at the moment. And I think there will be brands that will come in and fill the boyswear market. And I think there is a gap for product. And any instinctive retailer that picks up on that and creates a collection for boys is someone who's got their finger on the pulse. So I'd be chasing that very quickly. When you look at a market, you can look at the big data. You can look at how many boys have been born, you know, what's happening, should we be tapping into that market? But great retailing comes from instinct. And truthfully, this is an instinctive time that young men and young boys are starting to recognise and want to look fabulous.
The new boys collection has been designed and sampled. The new logo and branding has been delivered, and we're ready for launch. All we need is you.
There's a few really fascinating things about that video. One is they're doing a rebrand through crowdfunding, so they're kind of announcing a new brand, so it's doing that for them. They're launching a whole new product line, going out to their existing fan base, so it's achieving that for them. It proves that luxury brands can crowdfund. I think a lot of people assume that that's not the case. I think that very much is the case. You can launch a luxury brand in this space. And also you can see that how they might be able to slice and dice that video to create lots of other assets to be used on social media, to be turned into a little advert. So I think that it's a really nice example of a crowdfunding campaign. Also note that they've been around for 8 years. It's a profitable company. So it's not just about little startups with crazy ideas, you know. This is about established businesses that want to do something to launch a product or a new business area and reach a new customer. With any marketing campaign, you know, this is all, I don't teach you guys to suck eggs because you know this stuff, but a crowdfunding campaign needs to be treated like any other in terms of identifying who your audience is, segmenting that audience, creating tailored messages for each of them. But that audience can be quite broad, and it's probably a different kind of audience that you might be used to communicating with. Obviously your customers, your fans and your followers, friends and family also might want to come on board. Any existing investors you have, or new investors who are going to need quite a different type of messaging than your customers would. Suppliers and partners are often great people who want to be part of your business if they work closely with you. But also business leaders in your sector. So for example, you saw in there they had somebody talking from Mothercare. They've got Mary Portas, you know, getting high profile people like that to participate in your campaign has another really amazing marketing halo. And again, although a lot of this looks like it's digital, you do need to look at this campaign in a real 360 way to think about all the different communication channels you can use. And that includes offline. So I'll show you all the different places where a crowdfunding campaign can be published. So the crowdfunding platform itself, there's probably around 300,000 investors on the top crowdfunding platforms looking for opportunities all the time. And those are people who perhaps won't have come across your brand before. 80% of them will be men, probably about 20% of investors are women. So again, it needs to be thought, you need to think about how you position your campaign to appeal to those kind of people. You can promote your campaign on your own website, where you will have a lot of traffic. Social media, going out to your existing fans and followers, and you may also decide to put some budget behind it to reach out to new people on those channels. LinkedIn is a particularly good channel to look at from a crowdfunding perspective, which you might not normally consider when you're looking at consumer marketing. Events, really, really important, because potential investors want to be able to meet you and find out who you are. So investors invest in people above anything else, and that's why you'll see all these crowdfunding videos feature the team behind the brand, because they need to know who is sailing the ship and who's running it and who's going to make sure it doesn't hit an iceberg like the Titanic did. So events are really important. You can run those events in your office, in a store if you have one, or you can rent somewhere, but people like to see what the business is really like behind the scenes. Now, PR is an interesting one. I think crowdfunding is no longer PRable in itself. Just because you're running a crowdfunding campaign, the press don't really care. So there needs to be some sort of interesting hook in there. We talked a little bit earlier about Oppo ice cream doing the fastest ever crowdfunding raise at that time. And a lot of businesses now are crowdfunding purely to get those kind of PR headlines. I'll show you an example from Mondo Bank in a minute, which is really interesting. If you're a bigger company that's got budget to put behind this, then digital advertising, but also outdoor advertising, again, coming into the real world, can be really effective. The posters that you saw there are usually collaborative projects between the brand and the platform itself, where they'll usually share the cost 50-50. One of the key things here is to try and capture data for people who are interested in investing, because actually showing that interest is not enough. As you know, people need to hear about our message 7-8 times before they commit to buying a product, or in this case, investing in a business. So you'll need to find a way to be able to convert people through that conversion path. Email is the most effective way to do that with crowdfunding. But also outbound sales. Great example of a business called A Suit That Fits, and if anybody knows that business here, they make bespoke suits. Really great business. Last year they went out to raise £500,000 to grow their business, and they actually reached a target of £1 million, so they smashed it. How did they do that? They basically diverted their whole sales team for the period of the campaign, stopped them from selling suits, and got them to phone up all their customers to sell them the opportunity to invest in the business. And that's how they got most of their funding. So a lot of people don't think about outbound sales when they think about a 360 marketing approach, but it can be incredibly effective. Yes. Yeah. So I pick a live example actually. I just thought I'll have a little look and see who's crowdfunding at the moment. Plumen Lights. I don't know if anybody knows Plumen. I've got some of them in my house. They're crowdfunding. They're raising £500,000 to grow their business. So this is what, you go onto Crowdcube, this is what their little piece looks like. So you see all these companies that are raising money, and that's their little piece there. So they've got an image, some basic copy, talks about the target and how far they've got so far. So it's like the old Blue Peter fundometer. You can see how well they're doing. So they're 77% towards their campaign, and they've got 9 days left, so I think that they'll probably make it. But they're also promoting that on their homepage. So here's their homepage, you can see on the right-hand side. Very, very simple. It just says, own a piece of Plumen. And that's the connection. That's the connection to the consumers, that they can own a little piece of this company that they love so much. And of course, they're also promoting it on social media. And, you know, putting a bit of colour into the promotion here. So a little bit of behind the scenes, you've got the founders there. On Twitter, they're getting other people in the industry to help them promote, so other people in the design industry. So the kind of the halo effect there, by getting all these people in the industry to talk about them, even if those people don't invest, it's just a really great way to be getting themselves talked about in the digital world. Here's the Mondo Bank one. I love this one. The Mondo Bank raised £1 million in 96 seconds. Yeah, they didn't really do it in 96 seconds. They pre-marketed that campaign. When they went live on Crowdcube, they'd already secured all that funding. So the way they structured that campaign was very clever, and it allowed them to get those attention-grabbing headlines from the way that they managed to get all those investors committed before they went live. Just a little bit on the brand ambassadors, and I think you can probably get, you know, already about all these people who are investing and how it really makes them feel part of the journey. But there's a couple of points worth mentioning. Whichever type of crowdfunding you look at, rewards are a really nice way to incentivise people to invest, but also then for you to start to build a longer-term relationship with those customers. So a couple of examples. Products rewards that money can't buy are always really, really good because it makes them feel special. So for example, if you were investing in a whiskey brand, it might be that every investor who invests over £200 gets their own personalised bottle of whiskey with their name on it and a label created for them that wouldn't be available on the market. So if you bought into that company and you had that personalised bottle of whiskey, it made you feel really special. So those rewards don't have to cost you a lot, it's about the perceived value. So it might be, let's say for example you're a gaming company, people who invest might get the opportunity to design a character in the game. It wouldn't cost you anything, but it would make them feel absolutely amazing. And also rewards that promote that kind of word of mouth and sharing. So, for a restaurant, for example, if you give investors who put in over £10,000 a chance for you and 4 friends to come for dinner once a quarter, that's fantastic because they're going to bring their friends in and those friends are going to talk about the experience. So thinking about how you can bring other people in to those rewards. And even small rewards. So for example, with my last business, Upper Street, anybody who invested, no matter how small their investment, we sent them all a little branded keyring for Upper Street. So every investor had that keyring on them at all times. It was really lovely. And the perceived value of that was quite high. It's actually quite cheap to produce. But they had our brand on us at all times. So who is crowdfunding best suited to? Just, I mean, there's lots of examples. Beer. Beer has done really well. And I think a part of that is because there are so many men out there who are making the investments so that they can relate to that product really easily. So beer has been a really popular one. But also food and drink. Again, anything that's a consumer business that's easy for customers to understand, for investors and consumers to understand and relate to and see the opportunity, the better. So Zing Zing, Chinese takeaway company, raised £1.5 million last year. Simply Cook, which is a subscription-based business, has just completed a raise. And it can be a food product as well, so collie rice, where it's kind of like a packet of rice made out of cauliflower. They raised £2 million, which is incredible. Fashion, so Suit That Fits, Wool and the Gang, which is a knitting-based business. We saw I Love Gorgeous earlier. Fashion is another one that is easy for people to understand. But also technology. Technology always appeals to investors because they would love to be an investor in the next Facebook or Uber. That's where they see the potentially huge opportunities for a business that can really scale globally. Podpoint's an interesting one. They raised, that's right, £2.18 million. Podpoint are the electric chargers for electric cars. So again, as a general member of the public, you can understand that product. Even though it's high tech, you can see the potential for that because you understand that most people have cars and the electric cars are the future. Online marketplaces also work really well. eMove, shaking up the estate agency market by doing online house sales. Or Just Park, another one of the real poster childs of crowdfunding. So an online marketplace where you can find a parking place. They've both had some really big raises. Just Park did 3.5 million, which is incredible. A couple of products. Sugru, moldable glue. It's a bit like Blue Tack, but for glue. Raised £3.39 million. And a smaller one, Open Desk, which is office furniture, did a 300k raise. So again, small companies, big companies, lots of different industries, some product, some market, some tech. We talked about Mondo Bank, which is fintech. And the last one I picked up was the Eden Project, which I thought was a nice one. They raised £1.5 million to create a new building. So, all sorts of businesses can benefit from crowdfunding. Crowdfunding campaigns run from 30 to 60 days. It's a very, very short window, so they need to be planned very, very carefully. There's a pretty strong rule of thumb that says if you go live with a crowdfunding campaign and you haven't got between a third and a half of the money already committed, you will struggle. So the pre-launch is a really, really important phase. So for a business to be successful, it's really helpful if you have a good customer database, investor database, or a really strong following that you can go to before you go live to get commitment. When your campaign goes live, it then gives confidence to the crowd because they can see that other people have already backed you. You launch your campaign, you then have this horrible period, which I call momentum, where you kind of think, oh, I've had lots of early commitment, but nobody's investing in my business now. This is the tough bit where you have to really plan your campaign and run the messaging throughout your campaign to keep people's interest and take them through that conversion path. onto the final straight, and then you reach your target, hopefully, and you're into overfunding. So the line between failure and success can be very, very thin. 50% of crowdfunding campaigns fail. But if you plan your campaign well, you don't need to be in the 50% that fail. So I don't want to scare you, I just want to give you the reality of the situation. This was my last business that I crowdfunded for, Upper Street. I just wanted to show you the curve, which is the red line. So the green line shows you the target that we were trying to reach. The blue line is the pattern that I thought would happen. I thought we would get quite steady amounts of investment throughout the campaign, but actually what happened is we got quite a lot of investment at the beginning. It then plateaued, and it wasn't until the end of the campaign that we got that we reached that target. So with 2 weeks to go, you can imagine how much I was sweating, thinking we're not going to make this target, we're going to fail, and it's going to be a complete disaster. So crowdfunding is really, really exciting, but it also can be very, very stressful if you don't understand what that curve's going to look like. So just a few final points then to make sure that you could make your crowdfunding campaign a success if this is something that you think is right for your business. First thing, you need to have a stellar pitch. That means not only having a fantastic proposition that is actually really interesting for people to invest in, but you need to have a really strong video. Do not scrimp on the video. People say you can do a crowdfunding video for a few £100s. I think that that's a recipe for disaster. A really strong video, really good copy and graphics so that it looks really professional. Pre-marketing. If you launch a campaign with 30% of the campaign pre-funded, you are 90% likely to succeed. This is a really, really critical point. Pre-marketing your campaign. Oh, by the way, on the pitch side, I forgot to mention, 80% of businesses that go to the crowdfunding platforms get turned away because their pitch isn't good enough. And the final thing is planning. You have to plan a crowdfunding campaign like a military operation, because you've only got this very short window. It's 30 days on Crowdcube, you can do it up to 60 days on Seeders. You don't have time to mess about. You need to have that campaign planned to the nth degree across all the channels with all your messaging and everything. So I hope I haven't scared you at the end, but really I wanted to say, I do believe that crowdfunding is a really exciting way for you to generate growth for your business through raising money and getting the marketing effect. It just needs to be planned really, really carefully. And if anybody does want to talk to me about whether your business is suited to crowdfunding or your project or your product, then please do come and see me in the coffee break, or drop me an email, or you can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. And I'm really happy to have a quick chat with you on the phone to assess whether it's something that would work for you.
Thank you very much, Julia.